Julie Summers was the kind of person everyone in Millhaven remembered. Not because she was loud or drew attention to herself, but because she was the opposite. Quiet, observant, the sort of young woman who listened more than she spoke. She worked part-time at the town's public library while taking online courses in criminal psychology. Her dream was to become a forensic profiler. Everyone thought she'd make it. Until one day in late October, she vanished. It began like any other Tuesday. On the morning of October 23, 2018, Julie left her small one-bedroom apartment on Oak Street at 7:15 a.m. Her neighbor, Mrs. Geller, saw her locking the door, backpack slung over her shoulder, earbuds in. She smiled, waved, and disappeared down the sidewalk. Julie never made it to the library. When she didn't show up for her afternoon shift, her supervisor, Carol Nunez, assumed she was running late. But by 3:30 p.m., Carol called her cell. No answer. By 5 o'clock, panic began to set in. Julie had never missed a shift without a call. Carol reported her missing just after sunset. The next day, police entered her apartment. Everything was in place. Keys, wallet, even her planner, neatly open on the desk. The only thing missing was Julie. In a town of just under 6,000 people, news travels fast. Flyers went up within hours. A search party assembled by the weekend. Local TV ran the story. Her photo, dark brown eyes, long black hair, pale complexion, was everywhere. But no trace of her ever surfaced. At first, people assumed she'd simply left. Maybe stressed from school, maybe something else. But her family knew better. Julie had just signed up for another semester. She'd put down a deposit for a new car. She was excited to attend a local forensic science conference the following week. She wasn't planning to disappear. Detective Aaron Mulroney of the Millhaven Police Department led the case. Mulroney, a no-nonsense cop with over 20 years on the force, immediately ruled out voluntary disappearance. She didn't pack a bag, didn't take her money. This wasn't someone running away, he told reporters. But that's where the certainty ended. There were no signs of struggle, no witnesses, no known enemies. No calls, texts, or clues. The only unusual detail was the security footage from a grocery store 2 blocks from Julie's apartment. At 7:24 a.m., a figure matching her description was seen walking briskly past the store. Not running, not looking distressed, just walking with purpose. That was the last confirmed sighting. A week later, her phone pinged briefly on a cell tower near the woods outside Millhaven. Police combed the area with dogs and drones. Nothing. Rumors began to spread. Some said Julie had discovered something in her studies. Maybe she'd been looking into local cold cases and gotten too close to someone dangerous. Others whispered that someone in town had been stalking her. But no evidence supported these theories. Then in December, 2 hikers found something chilling, a torn piece of fabric, later confirmed to match the shirt Julie had been wearing the day she vanished. It was found snagged on a barbed wire fence deep in the northern woods. Near it, fresh shoe impressions, 1 pair and something larger. Police said it was possibly a man's boot. Now suspicion turned toward foul play. Detective Mulroney expanded the search. Nearby towns were canvassed. Sexual offenders in the area were interviewed. One man, Richard Thorne, drew attention. He had a record: domestic abuse, breaking and entering. Lived alone in a trailer 10 miles from Millhaven. Julie had once volunteered at a women's shelter where one of his former partners had stayed. That was enough for a warrant. Police searched Thorne's property. Dogs alerted to something near a burned-out fire pit. But forensic testing was inconclusive. No DNA, no physical evidence tying Julie to the site. Thorne lawyered up and refused further questioning. He was released. Then the case stalled. Months passed. The seasons changed. Julie's photo still hung in the post office, on the library's front desk, in the window of the bakery she frequented. But leads dried up. Tips slowed. Life uncomfortably went on. But her family never stopped searching. Julie's older brother, Damien, took to social media. He created a website, findjuliesummers.com. He uploaded every known detail, last sightings, interviews, photos of her bedroom, even her college essays. Someone knows something, he wrote. They always do. In April 2019, Damien appeared on a podcast about missing persons. There he dropped a bombshell. Julie had confided in him weeks before she vanished. She'd told him someone had been watching her. She thought she was being followed, he said. A man in a red car. She saw him outside the library twice, then again near our parents' house. She said she felt like he was waiting. Police had never released that information. Possibly they didn't know. The podcast gained traction. Hundreds of tips poured in. One stood out. A woman from a neighboring town recalled seeing a red sedan parked outside a rural gas station the morning Julie disappeared. The driver was described as a tall man, mid-30s, unshaven, with a limp. The gas station had cameras, but footage from that day was overwritten. Still, it was a new direction. Police released a sketch based on the description. But again, no matches, no suspects. A year later, in the summer of 2020, a breakthrough seemed possible. A hunter discovered a shoe in the woods. Worn, decayed, partially buried. It was the same brand and size Julie had worn. DNA testing confirmed it. Her skin cells were inside. Nearby, more torn fabric, but still no body. Julie was now presumed dead. Her case remains open. Theories still abound. Some say she was abducted by someone passing through town. Others believe she may have been silenced for something she learned. Still others insist she ran, but the evidence says otherwise. Julie Summers was 23. She loved mystery novels, chamomile tea, and thunderstorms. She wanted to help people, understand evil, and make sense of the shadows. Instead, she became one, and Millhaven still waits. But in early 2022, something changed. A new detective, Jessica Hanley, transferred from Chicago to Millhaven. Young, sharp, tech-savvy, Hanley had worked cybercrime before moving to rural cases. She requested access to the Julie Summers file and was stunned at the sheer volume of missed digital forensics. She began where Mulroney had ended, the red car. Julie's phone had pinged near the woods. But what about nearby traffic or surveillance? Hanley filed public records requests and accessed traffic camera data previously unused. A car matching the red sedan's description was caught speeding on County Road 5 the morning of October 23, 7:41 a.m. No plate visible, but the timestamp placed it within range. She dug deeper. Cross-referencing DMV data for red sedans registered within 100 miles of Millhaven yielded dozens of potential vehicles. One in particular stood out. A 1999 Pontiac Grand Am registered to a James Weller, a former delivery driver. He had lived in Millhaven until 2018. Weller had moved out just weeks after Julie vanished. Hanley pulled his file. No criminal record, but past complaints, trespassing, loitering. A former girlfriend filed a restraining order against him in 2015. A pattern of boundary violations. Weller now lived 2 states away. Hanley traveled to interview him. He was calm, cooperative, claimed he left Millhaven because of small-town drama, denied knowing Julie Summers, claimed his car had been stolen in October 2018 and never recovered. But Hanley wasn't satisfied. She obtained Weller's old phone records. They showed no activity the morning Julie vanished, until 11:12 a.m., when a tower ping occurred just miles from where Julie's torn shirt had been found. It wasn't proof, but it was a lead. She quietly filed for a search warrant of his current residence. In the basement, inside a locked storage box, she found old notebooks, maps of the Millhaven woods, and a chilling discovery, a photograph. It was Julie, not a public image. A candid shot taken from a distance, possibly through a car window. Weller was arrested. Interrogated for hours, he refused to speak. His lawyer demanded release. With only circumstantial evidence, Hanley couldn't hold him. But the case was reopened. National attention returned. Julie's face was back on the news. Forensic analysis of the photo revealed a minor detail, a reflection in the window. Enhancing it showed the faint outline of a GPS device. Investigators traced the model and recovered Weller's old electronics from storage. One GPS unit still held memory. One waypoint, marked with a star, dated October 23rd. Police descended on the marked site. It was deep in the forest, hard to reach. There, partially buried beneath stones and branches, they found a shallow grave. Inside, the remains of a young woman. Dental records confirmed it. Julie Summers had been found. The town mourned. A candlelight vigil stretched around the block. Damien spoke, voice cracking. My sister wanted to understand monsters, and in the end, she helped reveal one. Weller was rearrested, this time with evidence. He awaits trial. Julie's story, once a whisper, became a roar, and Millhaven no longer waits. It remembers. In the months following the arrest of James Weller, more details began to emerge, each more unsettling than the last. Investigators combed through his storage locker, uncovering a disturbing collection of newspaper clippings about other missing women across several states. While none had direct ties to Weller or to Julie, Hanley and her team began to wonder if Millhaven was only the end of a longer, darker journey. Weller's trial was scheduled for spring 2023. In the meantime, Damien Summers continued to advocate for victims' rights and better protocols for missing person investigations. He was invited to speak at conferences, wrote op-eds, and consulted with advocacy groups. For him, Julie's memory became a cause. The trial itself was a media spectacle. Cameras weren't allowed in court, but journalists documented every day's testimony. The prosecution built their case meticulously. The GPS data, the photo, the suspicious timeline, and the items recovered from Weller's home. Though they still lacked eyewitnesses, their case rested on the digital trail and on motive. A forensic psychologist testified that Weller fit the profile of a predatory loner with obsessive tendencies. The defense argued circumstantial evidence and cast doubt on the integrity of the investigation. They painted Weller as a scapegoat, targeted by a small town desperate for closure. But the jury didn't buy it. On May 17, 2023, James Weller was found guilty of the kidnapping and murder of Julie Summers. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Millhaven exhaled. The trial's conclusion brought some closure, but also new questions. Was Weller responsible for other disappearances? How close had Julie come to uncovering something before her death? Did she know him before the final day? Detective Hanley stayed in Millhaven. Her work on the case had earned her respect and trust. She began developing a task force focused on rural, cold cases. Julie's case taught us how easy it is for someone to disappear, even when everyone is watching, she said. In July 2023, the town library where Julie once worked unveiled a small memorial, a quiet reading nook with a plaque bearing her name. Her favorite books lined the shelf: Agatha Christie, Patricia Cornwell, and true crime studies. A chair faced a tall window that looked out at the old oak trees she used to walk past each morning. People still visit. They still remember. And while justice was finally served, the story of Julie Summers remains more than just a mystery solved. It's a reminder that the shadows are never far, and that some of the most terrifying monsters look entirely ordinary. In the end, it wasn't Julie's disappearance that defined her legacy. It was what followed, because even in death, she helped others find light in the darkness.